Hi everyone, I'm Jay West. This is Directions, a TV show about course life changes that just either mess us up or add value to our life. And my guest this morning or today is Ron Smith. Ron, good to have you. Are you a pastor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're a pastor, but you're also kind of a Celtics fan, but not really.
Not really.
Not really.
It's more of a color coordination with the clothing I wear, and the shoes from the feet to the head. So kind of matched. And I felt Celtic-ish this morning. So
Okay.
they lost.
I got the green memo, but I didn't get the right color green memo. So anyway, yeah, good to have you here. So I was at a recent meeting with you at the Hope Center.
Yes.
About maybe 3 weeks ago. And Hope Center here in Omaha ministers to children, youth,
community.
Yeah. So we had a big gathering, and Ed King hosted it, and there was pastors there from all over the city, minister leaders and stuff. And you were there, and you were sharing some of the things that you're involved in the city.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, you would be a good candidate for the show today, because the next show after this is about a mother whose son was killed on the streets and was murdered. And I know you minister to gangs, apparently very effectively.
Sometimes I do all right.
Well, they're so young, and you're at least 30, so you know.
Thanks, man.
So, tell me how you got started in ministering to gangs.
Oh, well. Actually, about 30 years ago, I'm born and raised in Chicago, and we call it in the trenches with the gang lifestyle, the poverty, and all the stuff that come with it, the violence. And from 17 to 30, I was an active gang member.
So 17 to 30 in Chicago. You're an active gang member?
Active gang member.
What kind of a gang? There must be levels and dimensions of gangs.
Well,
give us a little bit more.
Organized crime. So I woke up every day to break the law. That was my job. As a gang member, we don't keep the law. We're not law-abiding citizens. So that goes from Canada.
Well, you were when you were sleeping.
Not even then when I was sleeping, because they say you have a dream. So I'm abiding in my dream. So, but yeah, we broke the law. And
did you get arrested?
A couple of times. So I think I've been locked up I was locked up from 1980 to 1995, in and out. So I did about 6 years on the street in that 15-year run. So just heavy into the trenches of the gang life. I had a little, what they call a little rank. I was ranked one of the members on the west side of Chicago. Took me to some dark hallways, some dark alleys, some dark streets, and I found myself waking up at 30 years old in Cook County Jail, faced with my third armed robbery, which was going to cost me anywhere from 25 to 30 years. So, but something strange happened that time. Then I knew that I was going to prison. I knew it. I just didn't want to stay that long. And I figured. It's my third armed robbery. I did 6 years for armed robbery. My first stint, I was on probation for armed robbery. So, being in organized crime, you kind of know you're going down when you're going down. Their job is to catch me. My job is not to get caught. So if I get caught, I wasn't doing my job. So I sat in the cell, going through drug withdrawals, because from 1990 to 1993, I was a drug addict. I did anywhere from heroin to crack cocaine to drinking alcohol, PCP, you name it, I did it. I like to say it this way: I was trying to kill myself by jumping off the 4th floor.
Well, yeah, I had a guest recently, and I don't know if I shared that show with you or not, with a young man who was on the streets here doing drugs and everything else, was also injured and wanted to commit suicide, and God supernaturally intervened and spared his life 17 years ago.
Only thing about my suicide, I was on the 4th floor with a fifth floor rope, so there was no way I was going to kill myself. But I went through that, and like I said, I woke up in the county jail, and something strange happened. I saw some guys eating some Krispy Kreme donuts. I was like, wow, where do you get Krispy Kremes at? In the Cook County jail, Chicago, And they said, well, you get the donuts from church. I said, church? They give out donuts at the church? Okay, sign me up. I'm gonna go get me a couple of donuts. We hear the gospel. When you get locked up a lot. And I've always thought this particular time I always thought I'll go listen to the gospel for a couple of donuts if nothing
Yeah,
else.
a lot of guys do that. They go hear it for the food.
Yeah. They used to tell us all the time, no word, no bird, no word. Because they gave us chicken too. So I got down there, and this pastor was white dude. And I'm very at this particular time I'm prejudiced. Chicago's very segregated. Black folks live with black folks, white folks live with white folks, Hispanic live with Hispanics, Asian live with Asians. We come out and diversify, but then everybody back to their corner. So, so this white dude is preaching. I never heard this before. He's like, if you want to get out of jail and stay out of jail, you need to get in Christ. There you go. Here he is again with this religious stuff, But he's constantly saying it throughout his talk. Mm-hmm. If you want to get out of jail, stay out of jail, get in Christ. So I finally, after it was over, I went to him and he gave me 2 donuts in the Bible, and I asked him, so what do you mean get in Christ? He said, that's when you ask God to come into your life. I'm like, I asked God to come into my life, ain't nothing happening. I did the foxhole prayers. God, if you get me out this one time, right. I promise I'll never do it again. Right. And I think I'll be good for about 30 days. I'm right back doing the same thing, I was interested because he made it sound so real. I never heard it like that before. So I asked him, I said, so how does this work? He goes, well, you pray and ask God to come into your heart. He goes, bow your head and close your eyes. I said, what? Oh, scared. You see how many guys back there? We're in Cook County Jail. I'm not closing my eyes. I bow my head, but I'm not closing my eyes. I'm watching these guys. Right. He prayed the prayer, and I didn't feel nothing. I didn't feel nothing. He prayed that God would come into my life and forgive me of my sins, obviously, and patted me on my shoulder. I said, what if it don't work? He goes, you can always go back to doing what you was doing. So I'm like intrigued. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Let me give this a try. And from that day forward, I don't remember eating the donuts, but I know I didn't give them away. I do remember opening up the Bible for the first time in my life for myself. I went to church every Easter and Christmas because, the church got to give you toys and Easter eggs, that.
Well, we have a saying, people go to, they're CEO Christians. Christmas, Easter, and one other Sunday.
Yeah, that was about me. I was there. But I opened that Bible up for the first time in my life, and I landed on the book of John, was the first book I ever read. And it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And now I can relate to that because I'm a street guy. You give me your word is bond. Your word is heavy. And that took me for a spin because I never heard of it like that before. And I just kept on reading it now. And the word shine said, the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended not. Then there was a man sent from God. His name was John. Oftentimes I put Ron when I'm preaching, and I say it was
John, the book of Ron. Huh?
Yeah, the life of Ron, the transformation of Ron. So I would get done, I would start reading, and I would start believing it, and then I learned how to pray, man. I learned how to spend time with God, and I had visions and dreams, and had encounters in a cell. So a lot of guys, when I told them I quit the gangs, I did something you don't do. I quit the gangs in jail. I stopped gangbanging in jail. And the only reason I was able to do that, first of all, I was 30 years old, and I had some juice, man. I wasn't just no foot soldier. I had some rank, and guys trusted me.
Sure.
And when I told them I quit, they asked me what I was gonna do. I said, I'm gonna try this Jesus thing, man. They said, okay, we'll be watching. And as you know, I got the tattoos on my arm. So a lot of times when I show kids this, they like, wow, yeah.
What does that mean?
That means the gang I represented back in the day, it was huge. Today it's called GDs, Gangster Disciples, 7-4. The leader now is locked up in Florence, Colorado, Mr. Larry Hoover.
So you accepted the Lord and you're in prison, but you're still facing the third armed robbery charge of 20, 30 years. How does that transpire? What happened?
Well, fast forward 2 years later, I had got really ingrained in the teachings of Jesus Christ. I mean, I was living it in jail. I wasn't playing with it. I was fasting.
Are you still in the county jail? Or?
Yeah, I'm still in the county jail at this
Okay,
time.
so you're waiting for
So I'm
trial.
going back and forth to court through this process, litigation, they say. And God showed me in a dream that he was going to get me out. So I had this dream after about a year being locked up. It was this big old garbage can compactor, this huge garbage can compactor. And I was on the inside of it, hollering and screaming because somebody had pressed the button and it was smashing me, you know, with the garbage. And then the dream shifted. I was standing on the outside, listening to the me on the inside. And I was like, wow. And then I saw people standing around, and I was wondering why they wouldn't help stop the press. And they stood down there. I woke up. So I didn't understand how to interpret dreams, but there was this guy, Cook County Sheriff named Officer Christmas. I can't make this stuff up. His last name was Christmas, man.
Christmas?
Christmas. His last name was Christmas.
Okay.
He interprets the dream. He said, well, the dream is you on the inside, that's the old you that's being smashed. He said, you on the outside, that's the new you. I'm like, wow, that makes sense. Because I read 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Obviously, if any man be in Christ Jesus, he's a new creature. Old things pass away, behold, all things become new. So I can see that. But I didn't know who the people was, and he told me the people was the jury that you was going to select. They're going to find you not guilty. Well, if you know anything about criminal intent and breaking the law and how that system works, a guy like me don't take a jury, you know. But it would take God about 3 more months, and I had this public defender, and she asked me, she said, how are we going to get out of this? I said, well, God says he's going to get me out. She says, God said, I said, yeah, God says he's going to get me out. You think your new jailhouse religion is going to get you out of this? I said, God told me he's going to get me out. And I looked at her dead in the eyes, and she was like, this guy's cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. Mm-hmm. There's no way. And then she said, well, you don't need me then. I said, nope, God told me he's going to use you. And she was like, yeah, he's a goner. He's a guy. Picked the jury, went to trial, and the people we robbed, it was 4 of us, but I was the only one that got caught. And the people we robbed came to court and testified that I robbed them. The lady got on the stand and said, hey, he had the gun. I didn't have the gun, but I did search her, and I searched the butcher and made him lay down on the ground while we robbed the place. And so they said that, but my public defender said something that was really powerful. And it's not what she said, it's how it sounded when she said it. And I'm sitting there writing scripture, you know, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I feel no evil. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Have faith in Jesus, for if you say this to this mountain, be removed, da, 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 da. And my mom never bought me anything for my criminal lifestyle. She bought me a white shirt with a green tie, and I had cut my hair, so I had a clean shave. Oh man, I looked like $1 million. Mm-hmm. And I had remorse, because I wasn't just changed, I was transformed. Right. So that's the difference. If you change yourself, you're changed back. But if you're transformed by the power of Jesus Christ, your life takes a whole new meaning. And my public defender told the lady when she was questioned, she said, could you have the wrong guy? The public defender said that. When you heard that in the courtroom, the whole courtroom was silent. Like, could you have the wrong guy? And she said, oh. There was that little bit of doubt, and that was enough for me to believe that, okay, you're right. I didn't rob nobody. That was the old me. I get it now. The new me haven't done anything. I'm a different person. I felt sorry about it. And she asked the butcher too, and she asked the officers that arrested me, could you have the wrong guy? And he goes, nope, he confessed. I did confess. I confessed when they caught me, but I didn't sign it. So because I didn't sign the statement, it's inadmissible. They can't use it because I'm not getting on the stand. Right. So if I'm not getting on the stand, you can't bring up my past. It took them about 2 hours. Took about 2 hours of that process, and about another 4 hours, man. And I'm in the back crying and praying. I'm crying and praying. I'm like, God, you said you was gonna get me out, and you can't let them. I know, I believed your word. I mean, I'm going through it. I'm in it, and finally the judge sent the letter out. Finally the jury sent the letter out and said, 7 said guilty, 5 said not guilty. So The judge told me, you got to hang in there and come up with a unanimous verdict, because we're not going to try this again. I'm not going to have no hung jury. And that's when I went back to praying and I went to sleep. When I went to sleep, a couple hours later, in that cell, they woke me up, and I'm telling you, when they said we find the defendant not guilty, I literally stood up there and cried. I was the only black guy in the courtroom. And
Right.
you know how they said, do you see the guy that robbed you?
Right.
I'm the only black guy in the courtroom. Everybody white. The jury white, the judge white, everybody white, man. So it's set up from the beginning. But when they said not guilty, my public defender said, I'm going to church this Sunday.
Yeah, that's a miracle right there.
That was in 1995. And then, you know, I consider all the things that I heard that was a part of that process of transforming me. You know, God is a good lawyer. He never lost a case. You know, he's a good healer. He always helps the doctor, and he heals you. When God heals you, then he helps you. So I felt that. But the crazy part, Jay, is that I went back to the same street that I grew up in. Changed man.
Right.
You know, I had to go back and tell the homies thought I was gonna go back once I got out, because they all thought it was a religious move, you know, to get out of prison. I wasn't scared of going to prison. I wasn't scared of that. I just didn't want to stay a long time.
Right.
So if you give me 5, I can do 5 years stand on my head, man. I mean, I'm used to the prison life. I'm used to the system, been doing it. But God had another plan. So when I got out, I goes to the same block I grew up in. I got 3 baby mamas, so I made a decision that I was not gonna constantly be intimate with my baby mama. I was looking for me a wife. So I read Proverbs. He that finds a wife findeth a good thing, and favor with the Lord. So
Favor with the Lord, yeah.
So I get out in 95, white guy gets me a job. You white people are so good to a brother sometimes. They say, Ron, you bad. I'm just keeping it real. White Jewish guy gave me a job.
It was interesting, you say the word brother, it doesn't really relate, but we were just in Charleston, and the driver of the van for the hotel to the airport, I set it up with him in advance, and he said, I'll be there at noon, brother. And I said, he called me brother, and I just thought, so then I asked him later, and he's a strong believer, and we talked about the Lord all the way to the airport and everything, and I said, I like this aspect of brotherhood.
Yeah, man, it's the best thing ever.
Regardless of skin color, hair color, teeth color, eye color.
It's humanity, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when I look at it, and I got out, like I said, Jewish guy put me under his wing. I went from sticking up stores to managing. Went from taking the money to counting all the money. You know, I'm in the back count.
So we only have like less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit. That's your past.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is your present. How do you, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 62.
Okay, so you're 62, but you're ministering to gang members who are 30 or under.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, you never lose the swag. Like I tell a guy, I can walk GD, look GD, talk GD, think GD, but I don't live GD. I go home.
So what does that stand for, GD?
That stands. I have a total different life other than a daily gang member. You know, now they in the trenches. They making their money selling the drugs. They having conflicts. I'm sent here to Omaha in 2005. I've been out here 20 years, and I'm sent to the street. God got me out the street to send me back to the street. I didn't know it was gonna be Omaha. So, and I'm sent to connect these guys that people say is no good, misfits, left out, never amounted to nothing. They stealing, they robbers, they this, they that. I'm sent to talk to them, to engage them, and it's not an engagement to come alongside of them and help them do criminal activity, but it's an engagement to say, hey, bro, you know there's a different way? There's a different way. They didn't tell me neither. It's not what it's all cracked up to be. You don't get no house when you get through putting all that time in. You don't get no pension plan. You know, you don't get that. So I'm gonna show you how to do it a different way. A different way means I got a job. I got a responsibility to my family. I'm faithful with my wife. And these people that people have just cut off, you can't see the end of the road unless you have somebody alongside of you that been there, done that. You know, and that's what I do all over the city.
So do you share your story that you just shared with me?
Yeah. I tell the donut, it's called the donut story. And in the youth center, I've been in the youth center since 2006. Everybody know me. I talk to everybody. I talk to Crips, Bloods, all the gang members in the city. TTG, TTB, uptown, downtown, round town, in the back of town. I help you. I connect you with jobs. I just connected 2 young guys to jobs working at Jimmy John's. I had a Jimmy John come alongside of me in 2012, and we had got like maybe 100 kids from 16 to 30 jobs that now when I see a kid.
How do you help convince them to avoid what you went through? Because if I was, and I'm not obviously on the street, but if I was in a gang and I heard your testimony, I could say, well, I can do whatever I want. And when it gets real hard and critical and I'm facing something major, then God will take me out of it.
Well, it's easy to convince them once you've been there, done that. It's the ducks conversation. I don't know if I ever said the duck. No, I speak duck. How do you save a duck from getting across the street so he don't get hit in the car? You got to speak duck. I speak duck. And when they hear you speaking duck, they know duck. So they know that, hey, I need to holler at this guy. How did you do it? Well, the first thing I did was relocated. I stayed in the basement with my mom for 30 days. I got a job and moved from the west side to the south side of Chicago, from the south side to Sioux City, from Sioux City to Omaha. So it's like, if you're serious about transformation, if you're serious about getting out, no, you can't get out if you stay in the same neighborhood, Jay. No, you're gonna be there. But if you get out that neighborhood and see the big world, and I tell them, the world is huge. I've been to Africa, I've been to Mexico, I've been to I've been to 39 of the states, you know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like, where have you been other than Omaha? You haven't even given yourself a chance. And we're talking to a young cats that's 16 and 17 that's locked up in the youth center, as well as 30 years old that's need a helping hand, because they just got out of prison. They just came back into society. So it's about re-entry. It's about having somebody out there that you can walk with. You know what I'm saying? That they can tangibly take you by the hand and say, bruh, come on, I'm gonna roll with you, man. I got you. Right. Let me pray for you first, because I believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's what I believe. Right. You might not believe it, but I believe it. And if you're with me long enough, you'll catch on. I give out Bibles. I help people pay for self.
How many do you think you've helped deliver?
Thousands, man. I
mean, they're out. They're totally out, away from it.
You never know what the word do to a person.
Sure, I get that.
The evidence is when you see your fruit. Like, I'm beginning to see fruit now. I done did marriages. I done married a couple of them. Then I had kids. I'm doing a ceremony, a wedding, May 25th this month. Kids met me when he was 16, and got his life there. 32 years old, 33 years old. You know, and saying, hey man, I want you to marry me. You my pastor. So it's countless. Chicago, Sioux City, Omaha.
So I don't want to miss this one point, because we're getting close to the end. If somebody has a friend or a relative in a gang or in a street environment, is there a way they can contact you?
Yeah, you can contact me by 402-840-9820. 402-840-9820.
We'll put that, we'll scroll that on the bottom of the screen.
Or you can reach me by just calling up to the youth center and saying, hey, it's Chaplain Ron now.
The youth center is where?
Youth center is at 1301 South 42nd Street, right over there in the Douglas Health area, where that at.
Okay, we'll put all that on the screen, but I just want to, because I can envision people watching this and thinking, and I can even, because it's on my YouTube channel and it goes out all over the nation, I can think people in other states thinking, I wish I had a Pastor Ron in my neighborhood. You know?
And that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to not reinvent the wheel, but reproduce the person and the strategies that we use. And one of the things now, you can earn a living on your lived experience. Jay, you can't get this out of book. What I'm telling you, you can't get out of book. You have to live it. You know. And technology has moved us so far away from book learning that now, if you don't know about technology and understanding the web page and the internet, you lose anyway.
Right.
But like I said, I do motivational speaking. I go to Minnesota, talk to school kids about gangs. We got one coming up here now in Omaha. We're trying to really mentor these young people that's in the 6th, 5th, and 6th grade, so they don't get caught up when they're older. So
you go to churches, schools, places, and talk about this as well?
Yes, sir.
So they can contact you for that as well?
As well, yeah. This is what I do, bro. That's all I can tell you. This is what I do. It's just not behind it.
We have 2.5 minutes left. Tell me something about gangs that the general public doesn't know.
It's a choice.
What?
It's a choice.
Okay.
You choose gangs. Gangs do choose you because of the environment you live in, but you got to say yes. And once you do, it's a whole different kind of behavior. It's the graffiti, it's the clothing, it's the conversation. They got
So let's talk about clothing. You said you wore this intentionally because it's what's worn in the hood.
Because if I'm in the hood, in the neighborhood, most kids identify with the NBA. Most of them want to get out the hood and join the NBA because they can play basketball. So it's a conversation piece. It's a door opener, you know?
Right.
And I like I'm born December the 9th. So my name is Ron.
Right.
On the back is Rondo. 9th is my...
But you got to wear the right colors because we have a friend that was shot wearing the wrong colors in the neighborhood. What was that about?
That was about...
We only have a minute and a half, but tell us what that was about.
About Crips and Bloods having a fight, young Crips and young Bloods. And my guy, our buddy, was in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong color going on. It was a killing that day, that morning. So that night they was sliding. Sliding is a way that we come around shooting. So our buddy got caught up because he's down in the wrong hood with the wrong color.
So you got to know where you're at.
You got to know where you're at.
And wear the right clothing.
It would be wise. Or just stay in the house like I do. I don't go out when it get dark.
So there's so much to learn. I wish we could do a second show. I'll have you back.
Yeah, we could do that.
Have you back sometime soon because this is important. It's not just important for our city. It's important for the life of people.
The world.
Yeah, the world. But the life of these young people, and I'm imagining it's young men and girls too.
Yeah. Well, girls are a whole nother breed. That's a whole nother conversation. Usually the girl is the girlfriend of the guy that's doing the gangbang. So we bring her in because it's easy for her to carry. Back in the day, it was easy for her to carry the gun. It's easy for her to manipulate the other guys that do my opposition. So it's a lot to that. It's crazy.
So you've been watching. You can see how Ron here has had a directional change in life. He was facing his third armed robbery, possibly 20 to 30 years in prison.
Yeah.
He was willing to do a short term, but if he had done that and just gone back to his old life, he encountered Jesus Christ, changed his life. He's out now helping others, thousands of others. And if you want to get in touch with him, we'll scroll the number on the screen. He's a great contact. So appreciate you being here. Shake my hand again. Thank you so much.
Love you,
God
man.
bless you.
I love you. All right.
I love you too. So thank you and goodbye. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.